Hey everyone, this is Pedro and Matt here once again. Today we bring you a special review. We are going to review one of the biggest launches of this holiday season, might be the biggest. For those of you who don't know, Spider-Man had a sequel-ish releasing this year. Spider-Man Miles Morales is officially out. It is a launch title for the PS5 and just a regular game for the PS4, of course. Uh, I played on the PS5, Matt here played on the PS4. We're gonna give you our thoughts on both versions. To be honest, I think that's a pretty cool perspective we're gonna have each one of us. We're gonna talk about a little bit about the story. We're gonna talk about the gameplay, of course, and then we're gonna talk a little bit about the spoilers. We're gonna dive into some spoilers. If you can, we're gonna save the spoilers, of course, for the end. So if you play the game and you want to hear us talk about maybe the ending, maybe other parts of the story that are kind of considered spoilers, we're gonna talk about them. And if you don't care about spoilers, just stick around then. So Matt, what did you think about Spider-Man Miles Morales?
Um, well, even though I played on the peasant console that is the PS4, I had a really amazing time. And I was actually really worried about playing it on the PS4 because I was like, oh god, is it gonna run? Is it gonna not be horribly optimized? And it still ran pretty spectacularly. People made and it's cool. People made a deal when you fast travel on the PS5, there's literally almost no loading time, and people were like, "Oh, I hate how there's loading times in the PS4." I'm like, the loading time is 5 seconds.
Yeah,
Like,
I compare them to the PS5, and that's funny because when you were playing, you told me you had a lot of bugs, and you had a lot of bugs you had a lot of bugs at the end of the game, not much during your
yeah,
playthrough of the.
I think my
I was just gonna
entire.
say that I also had bugs, a lot of bugs. So I think it's
Oh,
more of a
really?
program of the game. Yeah. So
Huh.
Miles crashed on me 3 times, and
Yeah, same amount for me. Three times.
it's not the only PS5 game I have. I have also Sackboy. I had no issues with Sackboy whatsoever. I haven't played a lot of hours of it, but I played a few hours, and I had no problem whatsoever. I played Astro's Playroom. I had no problem whatsoever, and I played Fortnite, no problem whatsoever. And then Miles crashed on me 3 times. One when I was messing around with photo mode, and 2 times when I select a mission and then I tried to fast travel uh, to a point that was closer to the side mission instead of just web slinging for 10 minutes. I was like, nah, I'm not for it. I'm just gonna fast travel, and it crashed twice. Doing the
Mm.
same exact thing was marking the side mission and then fast traveling. At the third time, I was like, okay, so I'm just gonna web sling until there. I don't want it to crash on
Yeah.
me again. So I think it's more of a problem of the game than it is
Yeah, I
on the
all of
version
my
you played.
yeah, all of my crashes came from doing uh the underground hideouts in the construction sites.
Yeah.
I never that was the only time it crashed. So I wonder if that's that particular environment freaks the game out or something, because I was worried that when particle effects are flying and everything, that's when the game would crash. But and obviously no spoilers, but the ending sequence of the game has very effects heavy and particles effects and all that. Nothing it ran perfectly fine. So is very pleasantly surprising to see how smoothly overall it ran, especially considering that it's definitely testing the limits of a PS4.
Yeah, and on the PS5, I'm just gonna get out of the way because I think that's the most obvious part. It looks beautiful. I'm gonna have here during the review that you're gonna see a few bits of my gameplay. It is on spectacular, so sorry if I'm bad at playing. I like challenges. I like challenges on my video games, and I was like, spectacular sounds a good time, and it is a good time. There's some BS over here and there, but it is a good time. So, excuse me if it's not perfect, but the game looks incredible. The first mission I play, so the first mission you play, it's one of the best missions of the game, to be honest. But just the
Really?
opening alone, to me, it's one of my favorite missions. I thought it's one of my favorite missions of both games. That's how good I like. That's how much I liked it. It was so
Really?
fun.
Wow.
It was like
Okay.
one of the best times I had played the game. But I don't know if it was that or it was like my first actual experience with the PS5. Like the first thing I played when I booted up my PS5 was Miles, and that was literally the first thing I touched or played on the PS5, and to me it was so. I was blown away by the detail on the faces of the characters, on the detail on the suits. You can see every single detail of Peter's and Miles' suit, which to me was like this was mind blowing because it looks already great on the PS4. And I was like, there's no way it's gonna look that better. It looks a lot. I don't want to say a lot better, but it is a significant difference. I thought the game looked amazing. It's probably not the best looking PS5 game because I think Demon's Souls still looks a little bit better, but it is breathtaking. And just web slinging as Miles through the city of New York was so immersive, way more immersive. Again, I don't know if it's just my experience in PS5, but I felt it was even more immersive than the PS4 version. It looks awesome. But let's talk about the one of the big things about the game, and that is the story. So, how do you feel about the story? Did you like it as much as the PS4 version? Did you like it less? Let us know your thoughts.
You know, it's. I think pacing wise, it's a lot better. I think
Oh,
writing wise, it's weaker. You know, like
oh,
the like I actually. I mean, it's weird. As playing it as a video game, I appreciated that Spider-Man PS4 had like it was like, oh no, it's not over yet. It's not over yet because it was like more gameplay, more fun times. But just
mm-hmm.
as a story, like I think it really outstayed its welcome. Especially near the end, where it's like, okay, now you
Talking
gotta
about
find.
You're talking about Spider-Man PS4, right? Sorry.
Yeah, yeah,
Okay,
Spider-Man.
okay. I got confused
Yeah,
for a second, but yeah, Spider-Man
yeah,
PS4. Yeah, I
whatever.
agree. I agree
Yeah,
with you. Yeah, you overstayed
and
welcome.
like, but like in this game, because it's shorter, I actually think that works to the story's benefit because there's no time for like, okay, here's 50 different boss battles, which are kind of like okay. Um, but in terms of writing, like the, the characters act kind of dumb in certain scenarios because they need to get to a point really quickly, and it doesn't feel organic. But that only really happened. To be fair, that only happened, in my opinion, 2 times. But it was still because the story is shorter. It also felt more impactful.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I love the ending. I think, obviously, no spoilers. Like, I think that the ending is like just the game's crowning achievement in terms of story, gameplay, like their overall theme of their game, which is like try to improve your community, and like your community will give back to you, which I think is a wonderful lesson to have in a game. Yeah, overall the story, like overall, I'd say it's like it's decent. The ending is absolutely fantastic, but the story as a whole is, I would say, just all right. It gets you
Yeah,
there.
yeah. I thought the story was good. I didn't think it was better than Spider-Man PS4. I think the story actually the the I think the story suffers because it feels rushed to me. I felt rushed to me. There were a few key moments during the story where I felt like there was going to be like a big conflict when certain things happen in the story. I don't want to spoil anything, so I'm keeping it as vague as
Mhm.
possible. And when they happen, they quickly brush it off, and I was like, okay, so this literally just happened, and it seems like you couldn't give two. I don't want to say the swear word, but it looks like you don't care at all, and then you move on. Now, of course, they kind of fixed it per se, and they kind of created another dilemma around that conflict. They created another situation, and it was a good situation. But the moment beforehand, it felt so weightless when it happened, and to me, it didn't really get a payoff. Um,
Mm.
I also think the villain should have gone. I, wa- I'm gonna say, I'm trying to really be careful here with spoilers. The villain, the villain of the game, was kind of weak. Not weak, but it didn't have enough development in my opinion. It
And
didn't have
I
enough
think the
development.
villain is like really interesting and also rushed.
The
Yeah.
game has a lot of villains. That's what, I can say that because I think it's in a lot of trailers. You see a lot of different villains in the trailers, and I think there's a few characters that do get decent development. The others are completely trash. Troy Baker's character, Simon, what was his name?
Oh, I loved him.
I hated him. He was
He
so
was
boring.
awesome.
He was so boring. I didn't.
Every single
I
scene he was in, I was just
bro.
like,
I
I
think I
hate that I
think
love this
I
guy,
think the only
but
reason
he's
why I
just
was
so
enjoying
entertaining.
him was because I was like, yo, this is Troy Baker. He played Joel. I gotta respect him. I gotta listen to him.
I was
Yeah.
enjoying it because his performance is so
His performance was
good.
great, but that's Troy
Like,
Baker. Troy Baker is great as a whole.
yeah, absolutely. That's all you need.
But I
like,
didn't like it. I didn't like
if,
it one bit.
here's the, if that villain was put propped up as like the main focus, yeah, okay, I'd be like they should have done more.
I feel
But-
like his character has more of a presence when he's off screen than when he's on screen, which to me is like kind of weird. Like you felt more of his presence off screen because there's so much thing happening. There's so many things happening in the game, and then everything backtracks to Simon. Then when you're in Simon, it's like, yeah.
Yeah, but when you're face to face with him, it's like, oh,
there's like 3 scenes
stupid.
where you're face to face with him.
yeah, but
It's
they're
like 3.
yeah, but again, like he's not the
Yes.
main focus. in terms
He's
of
not the
villain.
main focus. That's right. He's one of the focuses, but
And
I thought he was really
when-
weak.
When I see that, like when they do focus, I'm incredibly entertained. And yes, maybe that's just because of Troy Baker's performance, but I don't really see that as like a diss. It's like, oh, this character is really good because the actor did a great job. Oh, such a weak character.
But
Like,
I didn't.
He's-
That's the thing. I think it was a great job, but I just didn't enjoy his character. I thought his character was poorly written. I wasn't a fan. It just didn't like compare him to what's the name of the guy from Spider-Man 2018. Mr. Negative. Comparing to Mr. Negative,
Yeah.
Mr. Negative, right? Comparing to him, he's nothing. Mr. Negative was way more entertaining and way more
honestly,
well developed. I liked him way more. And I'm using if you didn't play Spider-Man PS4, you're not probably gonna get this reference, but I'm using the example of Spider-Man PS4 because
Yeah, sure,
it
but,
also
like-
juggled a lot of different villains, and I think it worked better in Spider-Man PS4. Sure, they had more time, they had more development on the game, but it felt like it was such a disposable character to me. But I was gonna say that
No, I'm gonna
say that wait,
Yeah.
wait, I was gonna say that I do agree with Matt, that the ending is fantastic, and I think Miles has something that Spider-Man PS4 2018, whatever you want to call it, Marvel Spider-Man, I'm gonna call it Marvel Spider-Man, doesn't have, which is that sense of being more personal and being more connected to the city. I felt like Miles was the feeling that I got with Miles at the end of the game was like he's really one-on-one with his community, with Harlem, and that was so cool to see. There's a scene at the end, and I'm not gonna spoil it, but there's a scene at the end that it was so wholesome when it happened, and I think you know what scene I'm talking about. It's so wholesome, and it's like it brings everything all together, and it's touching because this is to me what Spider-Man means. It's like helping out the little guy, helping out the small people, helping out a cat under the tree, which there's a mission to help out a cat. You didn't have that in Spider-Man PS4, but here you have a mission to help out a cat, and I think everything worked. I think the arc of Miles it's kind of similar to his arc in Spider-Verse, where he's like finding his place in this huge world, in this different world, trying to move on after what happened in Spider-Man 2018, and I think his arc was really well achieved. His friend, what's his name? I forgot his name. The dude who helps him out during the entire
Yankee?
game. Yeah, he was awesome. I love him. I want him. I want him in the sequel. I want him everywhere. I want him as a pop. I want him everywhere. So I liked him a
Really?
lot. Yeah, I loved him. He was so fun. Every time you're swinging with Miles and he comes on the phone, I thought he was really charming and really like a good like. He had a good chemistry
I
with
thought,
Miles.
yeah, I
It
thought their
worked
friendship.
perfectly well.
I thought their friendship was really charming. I thought him as a character was kind of, but like whenever it was
Oh
like
yeah, but
focused
Simon is great.
how yeah, Simon is entertaining. Genki is like he just kind of the tech guy or something,
True,
and can also somehow hack into
but
like Pentagon level security every single
that's
time.
always that's every character in Marvel. But that's
Yeah,
also what Peter from Homecoming and Far From Home has with Ned, and I love Ned. So
yeah.
I love. It's basically the same chemistry, same relationship.
Well,
Yeah.
because like I love MCU Spider-Man, but they were basically like, hey, let's just take some of Miles' stuff and give it to Peter, and no one will notice.
Yeah. But yeah, I want to dive into spoilers because I think my feelings are clear when it comes to like if I can talk about spoilers.
Yeah.
I think my thoughts are clear. But overall, I think it's a good it's a good plot. It's a good segue into Spider-Man 2. Uh, it's enjoyable. It's kind of rushed in my opinion, but the ending paid off. The ending was worth it. The ending kind of saved the rushiness from the game, in my opinion, because the ending was awesome. And I think I liked it more than Spider-Man PS4 ending, to be honest. Now that I think
Really?
about it, yeah. Although I do love Spider-Man, that's like saying, yeah, Spider-Man PS4 was a 9, Miles ending was a 10, because
Mm.
Miles ending is not a 10, it's like a 9.5, but it is amazing. I love the ending. But let's talk about the thing that I think is the strongest when it comes to Miles Morales, which is the gameplay. I thought Miles was way better than Spider-Man PS4, and Spider-Man PS4 was already great. I think the Spider-Man PS4 gameplay, I would give it like a solid 8. This was like a 9 or higher. It was incredible. I love the gameplay. I love that Miles relies way less on gadgets than Peter. That's something that I enjoy more. But that's
Hmm.
because I get that Miles has different powers than Peter, which allows Miles to have a variety when it comes to his like melee attacks and whatnot. But I felt like the gameplay was really well handled. I loved the stealth side of the gameplay. I love the Venom dash, Venom punch. Venom is basically your like special attack. Basically, if you know Miles has like this electricity type attack. It's awesome and it never gets tired watching Miles punch a Venom punch someone. It's so cool. I thought the side missions, most of them were similar. So you have the undergrounds, right? You have the undergrounds. You have those like
Rock
bases, not bases, but
Yeah.
like
No.
do you
Like
know
there's
what I'm talking about?
there's the basically the
Yeah,
similar side activities
yeah,
that you have in Spider-Man PS4, but
yeah,
with this game, there's like also side quests that have a lot more like meat to them. They have like a
yep.
story running through them. There's really memorable characters. It's like, and again, like you said, it's focused on your community,
Yeah.
which is so cool because like
I saved
I honestly I think they kind of should have made those missions like
part
not
of the story.
optional. They should have made them mandatory because I can't imagine playing the game not doing them and then having the ending and having it be anywhere near as impactful as it
There's
is
so
when you
many.
have them.
There's so many side missions in this game that I feel like had such an impact, like you said, on the game.
Mhm.
There's a side quest regarding your uncle Aaron Davis, I think without that side quest, there's some moments in the game where you wouldn't have like as much impact as you would if you had played the missions. And
Yeah.
then, like you said, the neighborhood missions might seem like disposable, but at the end, they also have like an impact in the overall story. I love the neighborhood missions. I saved them for last, not because I just like forgot about it because no, I left them for the end because I forgot about it. I forgot that you
Yeah,
had to like slide left to open the tab on
yeah,
your app. I completely forgot about that until the end. So basically, I before I did the literally last mission of the game, I tried to 100% the entire map, and that's when I was like, okay, so I'm missing something. I was like, oh, okay, so I have the neighborhood side missions, and they were so fun. I was having such a blast. They range from helping a guy on an helicopter to helping out a cat from a tree. Like there's even a mission helping out a guy finding his car. He lost
yeah,
his car. It seems like this miscellaneous thing, but it's really fun, and it brings like a sense of like
yeah.
closeness
Those
between,
really
yeah.
echo throughout the game, and I really liked how it kind of, in a way, was continuing a message from Spider-Man PS4, which was like you help someone, you help everyone, and like I think it's perfectly illustrated in this game when you do stuff like literally one of the missions is like, hey, can you help get my truck out of the snow?
Yeah. It seems so stupid, but the
Later,
payoff, it is
the
awesome.
truck goes on to like deliver. Yeah, and like that truck delivers like what something like food to like families in need, and then it's like every little thing you do kind of feels like you're genuinely improving the lives of people,
Yep.
as opposed to just like running around beating up people, you know, which is
Yeah.
also fun. But I'm glad that there's like that added layer of being a hero essentially.
Yeah.
Uh, and
Helping out the
yeah,
little
like
guy.
quickly on the gameplay, like I think it's essentially just like a refinement of the PS4 gameplay for Spider-Man. It's just, and it's almost a disservice to say like, oh yeah, it's basically the same gameplay but with Venom powers and invisibility. But I really underestimated how much more varied and how many more layers it adds to combat and just
Hmm.
general gameplay. Like stealth gameplay is so much more fun now
Yep.
because you can do like attacks where you like attack someone and then you go quickly invisible, and this time you actually can like repeatedly do that as opposed to the last game where like the moment you're found, it's like, okay, unless you think maybe you can make them not see you, but it's really difficult. And just the Venom combos and powers and different ways you can use it's just like, and a certain element is also just it's eye candy. Like it like looks like so cool. But yeah, no, it felt kinetic. It felt fast paced. Just
Did
dialed
you
everything
like
up.
did you like the web slinging more in this game than the PS4 one? Because I thought it was better.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
It's more of a preference, I think, than actually like thinking it's objectively better than the PS4. It has better tweaks, but I think I like more the movement of Miles. Miles is more
Here's the thing,
acrobatic.
because did they change anything about the gameplay of the swing, or did they just change the
No, they
animation?
did change the gameplay. I think. Could you do tricks with Peter? Because I don't remember
Yeah,
being able.
you could
You could.
absolutely
Oh,
do
okay.
tricks. You could
Okay.
absolutely do
I didn't
tricks
remember that.
with Peter.
Okay, I
Um,
didn't remember that.
but
But I think I just liked it. That's what I was trying to say. I don't think it's like an improvement when it comes to the actual swinging, but I think I prefer Miles' movement and animations
yeah,
rather
because
than
it feels
Peter's.
I think it
You
reflects
can
how
clearly
we
tell
feel.
like Miles is a kid and he's starting this
Yeah,
through like his movements when he's web slinging, and it's pretty
but
cool. They
what's
have the animations of Into the Spider Verse, which is also a Wayne. So I don't know. I like
yeah,
it a
no, that
lot.
was really cool. And like
Yeah.
what's so great about that is that it reflects like his joy and his exhilaration when
Yep.
he like swings through reflects us as the player as well.
Do you want to
And
use
I
a
think
metaphor
that's
on that? I know there's a
yeah.
popular metaphor right now for that.
No, oh my god.
But
Yeah,
it's true.
lots of exaggerated swagger.
It's exaggerated
But
swagger.
no, like I think that just it really any way you can sort of connect with your player
Mhm.
just enhances the game, and that goes a really long way. Like,
Yep.
um, especially when he's like swinging and he'll like land on something and like almost fall or something like
Yeah,
that. Like
yeah,
the
yeah.
little details like that are so cool.
Yeah, I agree. I think like, I while something that I felt like, and I think this is, yes, this is mainly due to the fact that Miles is like 10 hours long if you clean the entire. Actually, I saw the PS5 now counts the hours you play each game, and I
Mhm.
had 20 hours, and
Yeah, I
basically
don't understand people saying it's six
I
hours
basically
long. What?
stopped before. I basically stopped after the Rhino scene in New Game Plus. So from playing the entire game, 100%ing the map, and starting a New Game Plus, I played 20 hours. I think that's pretty good for a not even full price game. It's not. It's not full
Yeah,
price. It's
seriously, because like people like I never understand it when people are like, "Well, I just did every main mission and it was only 6 hours." I'm like, why would you? I mean, you do you, but like, why would you play a game
you
that has side
people.
missions
If you
and
want to rush,
collectibles?
sure. But also, if you're gonna rush, for example, Spider-Man, you would play entirety of Spider-Man in like 10, 12 hours. So like,
Because then I would actually argue that they're not getting the full experience of the game. Like
yeah,
I know
yeah,
it's
I
like
agree.
technically optional, but that's like going to a buffet and being like, I paid for this buffet and it was only a salad bar. It's like, well,
It
no, there
reminds
were
me.
all
It
this
reminds
other
me
stuff
of
too.
It reminds me of a game that came out earlier this year called Ghost of Tsushima. As you know, I'm kind of known as the hater around here of Ghost of Tsushima. Well, I actually gave the game a 7.5 out of 10 or an 8 out of 10 because I did enjoy the game. And one of the
Mhm.
things that I enjoyed the most about the game is that the side quests actually matter into the main quest. So if you
Mm.
do the entireties of the side quests before you like finish the second act, yeah, second act of Ghost, you're actually gonna get a better experience because those characters from the side quests actually matter at the end
Mm.
in the main quest. So like if you're skipping them, you're gonna miss a part of the experience. And
Right.
sure, Ghost is way longer than Miles, but like you always they advertise that this is not a full title. This was a more than a DLC, less than a full priced game. We all knew this going in with Miles, and again, I played 20 hours. I think that's pretty decent. I checked
Mhm.
Sackboy. To finish Sackboy takes me 15 hours, and that's full price. And I'm not
Yeah, no,
complaining
like
about
I don't
Sackboy.
know
I
why
love
those.
Sackboy. I'm enjoying a
Yeah.
lot Sackboy, but like you can't. I don't know.
I don't know
People
why
like to
people are
complain.
terrified. I don't know why people and Insomniac was scared to call this
If
an
the game
expansion.
was 3
Like,
hours and I had enjoyment, those 3 hours were money well spent, in my opinion. If the game
mhm.
was 2 hours and I was like, this was an awesome experience, I would say yes, the money is worth it because the experience is worth it. That's how you gotta look at it. You can't look at it through hours. GTA has countless hours, but if you're not a fan of the genre of GTA, you're probably not gonna enjoy the game.
Mm.
And to me, that's weird. But I was gonna say is that actually I forgot what I was gonna say before we dive into this part. I was gonna say yeah. Okay, I remember. I was gonna say that while Spider-Man 2018 is a bigger game overall, I had more enjoyment with Miles. I just enjoyed more. I'm not saying I didn't like Spider-Man. I did. I love Spider-Man. I think it's a great game, but I felt like a few times during like I think the second part of the game, I was kind of bored and not bored, but like I was things that I felt like shouldn't be in the game became chores to me. And when a
Mm.
game becomes like a chore, I need to step out. I need to take a breather, play another thing. And I think you agree with me when I say that. Like I think Spider-Man overstayed their welcome when it came to like the overall plot of the game. I think the game ran
Yeah.
for too long. Uh, there's easily parts. Oh, that's something I wanted to mention. Miles has zero MJ side quests. Not that I hate MJ. I like MJ, but those side quests were
Yeah.
terrible. They were by far the worst part of the Spider-Man game. Even I
Yeah, they're
like the
pretty rough.
Miles one because the Miles one actually had like impact at the end. And yes, sure, MJ had impact as well, but they were so boring. Miles was like this, like okay, yeah, we're gonna have this. It's not perfect, but I can do. But MJ were terrible, and this game has no like trekking side quests. I think it has one mission. I can think of one like trekking mission per se.
Yeah.
But it quickly ends. It's like 5 minutes long. It's just one like section of the game. That's awesome. But yeah, overall I enjoyed Miles more than I enjoyed
Yeah,
Spider-Man.
it's gonna be a real challenge for Insomniac to make us want to play Peter over
But
over Miles for the sequel, because I'm like, what are you guys gonna do? Because I'm
but
gonna be playing this and being like, man, I can't Venom Punch, I can't go invisible, I just got these like trip mine things for webs. Like,
it's
I hope. I mean, they're gonna have to step up their game, which is awesome. But I'm not gonna lie, I'm a little worried for the sequel to that I'm just gonna be wishing that I was playing as
you
Miles.
know
You know?
you know you know how good you know how good this game is when I'm actually considering getting the PS5 remaster to play Spider-Man again, because I feel
Yeah.
like it also. Oh, that's what also I was gonna. I want to talk a little bit about that. The experience of Miles on PS5. I'm sorry, this is no diss to the PS4 players, but it's something completely different. And you think, yes, it's probably about the load times. No, the load times, like Matt said, are pretty like similar. There's like 20 to like there's like a 20-second difference. If you can't handle 20 seconds, I'm sorry, you're really impatient. But like,
Yeah.
to me, what makes Miles like a better experience on PS5, it's all about the controller. The control, I said this on the PS5 review and I'll say it again. The controller is the biggest thing. I feel like it's like next gen. If there's something about this console to me that feels like next gen, it's the controller. The haptic feedback is awesome. The adaptive triggers are so cool. You actually like when you web slinging as Miles, you can actually feel resistance from the controller when you, for example, on an area that has like barely any buildings, so it's gonna be tougher to throw your webs because you don't have that many buildings to hold on. If you're like
That's really
walking, if you're going by a train station, you can actually feel on like the left side of the controller the train going by, which is awesome. You by through the controller itself, you can hear the sounds of the of the city you're in, not the city but the street. Sorry, it's so cool. There's so many different, and I feel like controller as a whole is just it feels better than it feels on the PS4. But these new like innovations that the PS5 have just made the experience way better, and that's why I actually want to get the remaster because they heard that the remaster
Mhm.
does implement the same features that they implemented on Miles. Sure, Miles was literally designed on the PS5 while Spider-Man PS4 was designed on the PS4 and then ported over PS5. But I thought it was really, if you don't mind waiting until you get the PS5, I beg you to wait and get Miles, because I think it is an incredible experience. It's not as good as Astro Playroom as when it comes to experience. Astro Playroom is another level. That game is incredible, but
Mhm.
it is one of the best experiences I had this year at least. I'm kind of biased because I'm still at all with the PlayStation 5, but it is what it is.
Yeah.
Real quick before we dive into spoilers, because I think I just want to talk a little bit quickly about Peter. What do you think about the new face? I just real quick. We don't need to go into like details. Let's do it
Yeah.
this real quick. What do you
Okay.
think?
I have two main issues with this new X3, with this new face, and I also I made sure to go look at cutscenes of the PS5 remastered, like key one, so I could see, because their big thing with this,
He's
and
barely
by
in the
they I mean
game, but
Insomniac, was
he,
was was
yeah,
like,
sure.
oh, this face is so much more responsive to emotion in the PS5. That's why we did it. It just matches the performance so much more. And so I watched the cutscenes in the PS5 remaster, and I'm like, I I, I I suppose it's subjective, but I cannot understand how someone looks at the performance that the face in PS4 is giving, and then sees the performance in that the PS5 face is giving, and is like, oh yeah, the PS5 one is way more emotive. Like there are some really intensely emotional scenes, especially near the end
Yeah,
of Spider-Man PS4.
yeah,
And
yeah.
this new face looks like he's just kind of slightly annoyed or bored or like a little like, what were they thinking? Like
Yeah,
their whole thing, oh, it's gonna be so much more emotional. No. How do you see that and think, oh yeah, that person is doing a way better performance than, and that's not even getting into the I'm kind of going on a rant, so I'm sorry, but like that's not even getting into the fact that he looks way younger. Like, and I know that like people are like, oh well, in some shots he doesn't look as young. I'm like, you shouldn't even have to say that. Like, when they're talking with each other, there's a scene where Miles and Peter are talking at the beginning of the game,
mm-hmm.
and they look like they're classmates. And like Peter's making this speech about like, oh, I've been doing this job a long time. Like, you do not look like you've been doing this job a long time. You look like you've been doing it for the exact same amount of time as Miles. And then
Yeah,
on top of that, again, people are like, well, in some shots he doesn't look like it's only in some shots. You shouldn't have to say this. He looks like Tom Holland, like to a T. And
yeah,
people are like, oh well, you know, it doesn't look like it in some shots. You shouldn't have to say that.
yeah,
And again, so you're telling me that Insomnia just so happened. Oh, it just so happens that the new face model that matches with this performance looks exactly like Tom Holland. And they're like, oh well, actually, the face looks a lot more like Yuri Lowenthal, who does the voice. And I looked it up. I'm like, there's no, come on, that's BS. So
yeah,
like, those are my three main things. And I know that for some people it's like a non-issue. That's fine. That's fair. And of course, it's Insomniac's decision. I have no right to dictate what they say. Like, and obviously, like some idiot sent like death threats over this. Don't be that person. Like, I cannot. I am so unhappy with this decision so far. Hopefully, in the sequel, I'll be blown away, and then I'll be like, okay, you know what? Maybe it was just in those games. But right now, I'm so worried because it looks terrible. In my opinion. It looks absolutely terrible. So I
yeah.
hate being negative,
I
but
think,
yeah.
I think it doesn't look that bad. I think it looks fine.
Mhm.
I warmed up to the idea, but I do think he looks a little bit too young,
Mm.
and I also completely agree. I saw the cutscenes with the new face. Most of them are fine. I think they're fine, but there's a scene, a specific scene that happens near the end of the game that I felt like, yo, this face completely botched the emotions of Peter. Looking back at the PS4 version, I like the PS4 face way more. That's because it looks more like Andrew Garfield. But I think the reason why they made this change, I still believe they had some issues with the actor from from the first game. They probably were trying to bring him back, and he saw the success of the game and probably asked for more money, and they said no, and he was like, okay, then I'll
Mm.
walk out. It's speculation. It's not factual,
Yeah.
but I still think that was the problem. But they just don't want to say like, yeah, we and the face actor kind of botched it up. So sorry.
Yeah, and I
uh,
mean, if that is the issue, that's fine. This stuff happens. I could just say that. Again, like speculation. Like, we're not saying this is what it is. Like, if that is the issue, I'm really disappointed because I wish they had just said, "Hey, you know
yeah,
what? Falling out. This is what it is." But
yeah, yeah.
anyways,
Okay. To finish up the review, I think we're gonna save our spoiler thoughts for the podcast. Since we're gonna record a podcast soon enough, we're gonna give the first half, probably 1/3 or the first half of the episode, to talk about the spoilers of Miles Morales. Let's just end off the review with a rating, because I think games always have to have a number associated. So, how much would you give to Miles?
yeah, I I would honestly, and I'm incredible. Keep in mind, this is coming from an incredibly biased Spider-Man fan. So for me, it is like I would give it a 9 out of 10.
Wow.
I acknowledge that it's really short. Um, However, I think that it's like a filet mignon. That cut of steak is tiny, and some might say it's a ripoff. But if you taste that steak, it is incredible, even if it's
Great
tiny.
analogy. Great analogy.
Right? Look at me go.
Look at you go. I would
So
give it. I would give it an 8.5. I think I'm sticking with an 8.5. I gave Spider-Man a 9, if I believe, back in when the game came out. I still think Spider-Man is a better story. The gameplay, I feel it's better
I would
on
agree.
Miles than on Spider-Man. But to be honest, I think the thing that really gravitated to me when it came to Spider-Man was the story, and I think the story was so good, like top tier Spider-Man, one of the best Spider-Man stories ever, in my opinion. While Miles was kind of underwhelming, I felt the first act was kind of rushed. The setup of a few characters was rushed, and which is weird because I thought if they want to make this game so, everyone complains that the game is short. So they could have easily just spent a few more hours developing these characters, and then probably people wouldn't complain that it is as short as it is.
Well, I don't know if it could have like easily done that.
I mean,
Like,
you could throw in like 2 or 3 more missions and add like 2 more hours,
maybe.
and you would have had a more coherent uh, narrative.
Yeah,
and
sure. No, absolutely. If more characters were given a bit
Yeah.
longer to do, it
Yeah.
would have been much better. But
Much better.
Like a big reason why, because I kept bouncing with him like, well, really, I feel like I should give it an 8. But the reason why I'm giving it a 9 is because I finished it. It's the 23rd of November today. I finished it. When did the game come out? It was
12. America,
12.
Canada, 12
Okay.
here in Portugal.
So I
19.
finished the game around, I'd say, either the 16th and 17th. I have
And you're
not
still
been
thinking
able.
about it.
I have not been able to stop thinking about it. Like it has not left my mind. I don't know if that speaks more to how obsessed I am or just how good the game is. But
Time
from
to
the
be the tenure.
characters, the gameplay, to the suits, to the. By the way, the suits are awesome, and the photo
Yeah.
mode is incredible.
Yeah.
I just I can't even when I'm not playing it. I'm constantly thinking about what a work of art this game is and how it hasn't been able to leave my mind. And whenever any piece of art does that, I always hold it in like really high regard.
Yeah, so as you can see, we don't recommend
Boom.
Miles. We don't recommend Miles. Please get Sackboy Big Adventure if you can. No, I love Sackboy. I don't want to slander it. Anyway, yeah, of course, we both loved it. We think it's worth it. I personally believe if you can wait for the PS5, wait for the PS5, but if you're not, play on the PS4 because apparently it's still a great version of the game.
Which, by the way, if I agree with Pedro, if you can wait for the PS5, play it on the PS5 because it's clearly the best way to experience this game.
Yeah, if you're impatient or you just don't feel like there's a reason to get a PS5, like in the next 3 years,
or if you're just incredibly broke,
or if you're broke, that's fine. Get it, but
Yeah.
if you're like, okay, I can wait until like February or March to get the PS5, then I advise you to wait, or maybe get Miles and play for like play a second time on the PS5 and on the PS4. But I do believe like the best way to experience the game is still on the PS5. Yeah, that's our review of Miles. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you enjoy the game or enjoy the game. If you play the game, let us know your thoughts on the game. And we'll see you in the next video, which probably should be our next episode of the JustGaming podcast. See ya. Bye.